parents are very strict. Where are you going with those skates? Wear your helmet. Are you doing that too? Are you jumping on those banisters?
Evening.
Good evening.
Welcome again to the Shodcast with me and Joss. We're both in gloomy, dark little rooms tonight.
Yeah, I thought I'd match what you have by turning my lights off.
Yeah, and now it's just making me want to do one in a nice, brightly lit room.
Just to reverse it out a bit.
You're still clearly inside a house, not like
Yeah.
a 10 square meter hut.
No, I'm in a house.
Okay.
We're up to our seventh guest.
Number 7. It's taken this long to break the sausage fest.
And now
we're doing
will
it
be
tonight.
episode-
We're doing our first female. We're interviewing our first female.
Have you gotten on board with the term Blady yet?
No, but I did see that you wrote that, and I was like, is that a typo or is this a thing that I don't know about?
It's a brand. It's actually a brand, and they've had now 2 pairs of skates through different companies, like a collab skate, like a set of frames, some wheels. Like, it's an actual term. Blade Lady. Makes sense?
And it has to have been started by a female or females.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's not really a male version of that, is there? Like,
nah.
Okay.
Just a blader.
I'm never gonna call Heather or any other female a blady.
Fair
I'm
enough.
not buying into that shit.
You're keeping it old
Anyway,
school.
yeah. So we're interviewing Heather. She's been around for quite a long time, so she's not in New Zealand anymore. But she's waiting, so let's not leave her in a dark, dingy room.
Okay, cool. Let's
Hit the call button.
see if this works. Our first overseas guest.
If it gets all jumpy and stally, I'm going to have to push
Call it.
different buttons on my phone, but we'll just see how it goes.
Cool.
It's worth mentioning we're calling Heather, and where is she? She's in Australia, but we're in Melbourne.
Melbourne, yeah.
Melbourne. So there's a time delay. It might be a bit laggy. We apologise if we have technical difficulties.
She's in a dimly lit room as well.
Shall I turn another light on? Do you want the high-vis version?
Yeah.
That's bright. Hey, Heather.
Hello, how are you? Long
Good.
time no see.
Yeah. This isn't even really like seeing someone. This is just on a screen.
I know, but we're all used
Yeah.
to that over the past 2 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was trying to think of when the last time I saw you was, and it was like a decade ago or
It
more.
was a lot. It was probably at one of Niam's OG meets. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, would have been. But good to see you. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, we have a show now.
You're a thing.
Yeah.
Forrest running the show.
Yeah. This is what happens when you stop skating as much. You have to do other things.
Yeah.
Well, it's like you disappear from the scene completely for absolutely ages, and then all of a sudden everyone seems to get nostalgic and things like this start popping up.
Yeah. And it was actually really like random and like quite sporadic how it happened, I guess, wasn't it, Niam?
Yeah, well, you all of a sudden got a bit of motivation and messaged me, and it kind of turned into a thing.
Yeah.
Nice. I wondered how the idea of this started. It's like just came out of the woodwork. I mean, they're doing it overseas too these days. It's a really interesting way to hear the backstories.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you were on the list from the start because we have some other ideas of who we want to talk to, but you were always there. So, do you want to ask the first question, Neil?
Yes. Yep. So before skating, did you have an interest in any other sports or action sports?
Yeah, I did something equally minority. I did karate for 10 years,
Wow, holy
or
shit.
maybe, yeah, about 10 years probably. Yeah. Started it, oh God, when? Started it in high school, I guess, and did it and got like as obsessed with that for a while as I got with skating, and just, yeah, took it really seriously for a while and went through the grades and did a few competitions and tried my best to bash up the boys. And then, I don't know, at some point I just got actually pretty sick of doing sit-ups and push-ups, to be honest. So it wasn't so much the karate itself, it was all the surround exercise, and I just lost the love for it actually. So yeah, karate for 10 years and then took a break.
But
So how-
you didn't end up MMA or anything?
I didn't end up where?
MMA or cage fighting?
That'd be funny, yeah. That would have been a bit full on. I don't think that was a thing back when I was doing karate, but I think those girls are a little bit too hardcore for me, just quietly.
Yeah.
So how have you never beaten up a rollerblader dude in New Zealand? Because like you've got the skills to, and they've probably pissed you off enough.
And I got enough shit about it, and we can talk about that later on too.
Yeah.
Yes. Look, honestly, came a lot closer to bashing the skateboarders than the rollerbladers, because I don't know, they're still my crew no matter how much pain they're causing me. But yeah, it got pretty tempting sometimes when you had somebody taking something raspy to the coping to get your wax off again.
Oh yeah. So karate, and then it's kind of a good lead into to blading, because getting smashed at karate is like, okay, it's not the same, but like at least you're fit, and yeah.
That's what I figured, right? I mean, this is a long time ago now, so I don't know how much mental transition there was, but I do remember thinking, hey, I'm used to contact and I'm used to impact and I'm used to getting hit. So hitting the ground's not really that different, except that I'm inflicting it on myself. So yeah, it was probably a good base for it in a really weird way, that you are used to the hard knocks and the impact, and bruises don't mean all that much.
Yeah. So how did it happen? Like, did you see people skating and you're like, oh yeah, I could do that?
No, I took a totally different path into skating than just about all of you guys. I didn't see it happening. My friends weren't doing it, obviously. I was sitting around I'd actually got back into skiing the year before. And that was so much fun. I was going, oh, I really want to do more of this, but it was summer and I couldn't. And I was sitting around on my ass a bit too much. And I just remember thinking one day, it was January. I remember thinking, I really need to be outside more. I need a reason to go outside. Some exercise wouldn't do me any harm. And then I thought, well, what are you going to do? Because the idea of just walking or running endlessly is just so boring. So I thought, shit, I could find a summer sport of some sort. And then I thought, well, I could do surfing, but I'd have to go and find the waves. And by the sound of it, the culture there is a bit competitive. Or I could go mountain biking, but again, you've got to leave the city. So I was sitting there thinking through all this, and then I went, oh, hey, I could try rollerblading. So that was literally how it started. And all I wanted to do at that point was, roll around One Tree Hill, actually. So yeah. I didn't know aggressive skating was a thing. I had no idea it existed. I literally just walked into Cheap Skates one day, and there was this dude behind the counter who seemed reasonably friendly, even though I was terrified. And I said, I want a pair of skates, please. And that was literally how it started.
And what did you buy?
I bought Roshi's recreational skates. Yeah, those were my first skates, and I've still got them. And I think Neil's got a picture of them on something. And I've still got them, and I was rolling them around in Napier the last time I was home too. And I learned to skate in those. I took them into One Tree Hill, and I don't know if you know One Tree Hill, but there's a car park at the base, a big round one, and all the cars park in a circle, and there's a thing in the middle. And I just skated round and round and around that, trying to work out what the hell I was doing. And fell over the curb and landed on my ass and tried to work out how to cross my feet over and tried to work out how to go backwards. And then I went into Manukau shopping mall car park, and because I needed more space. and hung out there at night looking dodgy and taught myself how to recreationally skate. So yeah, that was how it started.
And who was that dodgy dude behind the counter that sold you the skates?
Well, as some of you could probably guess, given it was 2004, it was actually Horgan. Horgan is the person that sold me my first skates and put up with this adult female showing up, not knowing a damn thing about anything, and putting me on those skates. And then when I was skating in Manukau and getting the hang of the basics, I read online somewhere about, like, if you want to get better, go into the skate parks. And I thought, you've got to be bloody kidding me. There is no way. There's no way I'm going into a skate park. They're full of dodgy people and teenagers. But still, you know, the idea kind of stuck around. And I thought I could try it. And then online, I read about this thing called aggressive skating and people doing grinds and doing ramps and getting into half pipes. I was going, oh, hey, this could be kind of fun. You know, I might have a crack at this. So yeah, I went into Vic Park like about 9 o'clock at night for the first wee while and learnt to roll on the ramps there. And then I went back to Cheapskates and had a talk to Ben and said, hey, what's this thing called aggressive? And I didn't know who he was. I didn't have a clue. I'd sort of kind of worked out he was a rollerblader, and that was literally all I knew. And he was talking to me about aggressive skating, and he said, I could probably modify your skates if you want to try grinding. And I could put plates on them. I was going, oh, okay, maybe, yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, he put those grind plates on them. This was after he had to show me that bearings were a thing, by the way, because he sold me a set of wheels and I didn't know that bearings were a thing. So I took my old wheels off with the bearings still in them, and I was trying to put the new wheels on my reg skates, and they were just flopping.
Oh.
I was sitting there going, that dickhead at Cheapskates sold me the wrong wheels. He doesn't know what he's doing. So anyway, he put those little plastic grind frames that you used to be able to get. You put those on my Roshi's recreational skates.
Good Ben, eh?
Yeah.
I mean, first of all, he's not obligated to try and like sell you a pair of aggressive skates from the get-go, even though you went in there green as and were like, don't know anything about it. So that's funny in itself, but just your whole approach to it is so like honest. You don't know anything about it. You've never heard of aggressive skating. You're like, I'm not going to the skate park. I'm just going to go down hills.
Exactly.
So when
just roll around and have fun with the wheels. Yeah.
So then, so what happens? Like you suddenly realize you're getting pretty good at going down hills and the car park's getting boring.
Yeah, that is exactly what happened. I was going, well, this is all fun and I'm really enjoying the feeling of the wheels under my feet. Like I was loving it, but I was going, I'm bored now. I know how to go backwards and I've worked out these crossover things and what else. And by that stage, I was aware that the skate park thing was possible. So I went and rolled down a couple of ramps and landed on my ass a few more times. And then Ben told me about Abbott's, and I went to Abbott's. And
so the brake's off your rec skates by this point, isn't it?
No, I was still on it.
Oh, man.
Scraping every time I tried to go up and down the ramp.
Ben,
really
that's Ben's fault. We're blaming Ben for that.
Yeah, I can blame Ben for a lot of this actually.
Thanks, Ben.
Yeah, and I was rolling back and forth in Abbott's, and oh my God, I walked away hooked. That was pretty much what did it. And I didn't even know how to get up to the coping at that point. And I was looking at the top going, shall I try and drop it? Going, and I just rolled back and forth in Abbott's and was so hooked at that point because the feeling of it, oh my God. So,
yeah, I think everyone can almost, that's cool that you say that, because I think everyone can relate to that. Like when you learn to pump and you learn like you can keep your speed up and stuff, it's cool.
It is. It was one of the best feelings in the world. That whole of that first year, man, just everything was so exciting and so new, and anything was an adrenaline rush because it was all so risky for my level when I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and just so much fun. And I know a lot of the guys get into it because their friends are doing it or did, and follow that path. But the fact is that you keep doing it because you get obsessed with the way it feels. That's why we all do it. And that's why I got hooked. I mean, the first time I tried to drop into Abbott's, I don't even know whether I want to admit this, but okay, the first time I seriously tried to drop into Abbott's Mini, I actually put a pillow down my pants.
Hey, I wouldn't be worried about that. Jagger did the same thing when he was 7.
Oh, did he? Well, I don't remember that from his, but okay.
His parents used a belt to strap it to his ass.
I could have done with somebody holding me up on a stretchy, actually. That would have been awesome, because I stuck the pillow down my pants and then I absolutely caned myself anyway, because it's not thick enough foam to do anything.
Yeah.
So I absolutely caned myself.
So most people learn to sit drop first. You know what a sit drop is, yeah?
Yeah, but I couldn't work out how to do it. I couldn't get my feet up under me, so I figured I'd have to do this the hard way. So yeah,
Straight off the platform.
Just dropped in on my feet, and of course you don't lean forward enough because you're just not ready to.
Yeah.
Wailed myself, and then 10 minutes later I was still trying to work this out, still with a pillow down my pants, and 2 skateboarders showed up. And I was trying frantically to get this pillow out of my pants.
Good look, eh?
I was doing anything totally abnormal. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of my skate journey, that little effort.
So this is a very random question, but did your interactions with Abbott's, because that almost became your spiritual home, because we skated a lot together too, but did that almost define your house buying decision, because you bought round the corner?
Oh, God, damn, I hadn't even thought about that. There's a little psychological challenge for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. You never know, do you? I mean, I was living in the area anyway, so you could argue one caused the other, but who knows which. But yeah, loved Abbott's. I mean, it's such a nice mini ramp. It just throws you up onto the coping, or it was, throws you up onto the coping so nicely.
It's probably a good thing that I don't know, did you own property by Abbott's when Aaron and Megan and who else was living around the corner from there?
Oh, Glenn Dick.
Yeah, Glenn. Was it at the same time? Do you remember, Niam?
Nah, that was later than they were earlier.
That could have been dangerous.
Yeah.
That could have been a dangerous triangle.
Sounds like it could have been fun.
Yeah. Well, that too. The next thing I've got written down is well, actually, Niam wrote this, so you can ask it about Manukau, Niam.
Oh, yeah, cool. I was going to say here that our first kind of interaction with you was really skating Manukau. We used to hit me, Joss, and Scott Manukau on the way back to Hamilton on a Sunday night after spending the weekend in Auckland. And we, 9 times out of 10, would bump into you at Manukau. And you always rode parks by yourself in those early years. I wanted to shed a bit of light on why you rode parks by yourself in those early years.
Yeah, that's right. That was where I first met all you guys. You were all heading back out of town.
The dark, sketchy skate parks with teenagers and crazy people.
Dodgy skate parks where you get people wandering around with bottles and plastic bags, or actually glue. They used to sniff glue out of paper bags down there. Yeah, that was the first time. I think Ben must have told me that there'll be a bunch of you guys skating Manukau and come on down. And I don't think I'd even brought my skates out of the car that first time, because I hadn't even worked out how to drop into the ramps properly at that stage. There's no way I was going to put skates on in front of you guys. Yeah. Yeah, Manukau was another one of my favorite places. I love that park. A lot of people hate it, but I really enjoyed it. And I skated alone a lot at that point because I simply had zero self-confidence, and I was so bad. I guess everybody is when they start, right? But I didn't have a clue about any of it, and it was kind of a zero win situation, because I wasn't skating with anybody. I wasn't learning how to do it. And because I wasn't learning how to do it, I didn't want to skate with anybody. But I worked it out myself anyway. And I just wanted to work it out before I did it in front of anybody, and especially before I did it in front of anybody who knew what they were doing, which clearly you guys all did. So yeah, I lurked around the edges for a long time, and it took me a long time to get enough confidence up to even drop into the ramps in front of you guys, and I was a long way off grinding at that point. But yeah, I ran around and taught myself the basics in private, because I literally didn't want people watching me do it. And, I was thinking the other day that that's part of my psyche anyway. I don't like doing things in public before I've worked out how to do them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Puller asked me to play street hockey here this year, and I said, I'm not doing it unless you teach me to play it first. So everyone would just rock on and work out how they do it in a game. And I was going, not unless I already know how. And that's kind of, I guess, what triggered my private skating when I was first learning. I just wanted to work it out for myself first and not make a complete dick of myself, which I did plenty anyway, but not all the time.
Right. We interviewed Ryan Rolson a while ago, and he sort of said a similar thing. Like when he started, he didn't say he wanted to make an impression when he started, but he didn't want to, suck. He wanted to go to the skate park and have like at least a little bit of respect kind of aimed in his direction. And one of our questions was like, you came into a pretty like established scene. To be fair, like we said, it's freaking sausage fest. It's all guys, like some pretty big egos, heaps of dicks, cool people as well, but can be pretty cliquey. And so I can understand why you would want to at least have it a little bit sorted. So what was it like trying to slot into that in the beginning?
Oh my God. Yeah. The culture and the social scene, they were a hell of a shock. I mean, I was already an adult, a female, I was brought up really middle-class conservative, and I was shy, and I knew my skating still sucked. I mean, I was getting the grinds by the time I started joining the social scene, but only just. And it was a hell of a shock. I was totally unprepared for what went on in the skate crew back in the 00s. I think it was probably different to what it is now, but yeah, everybody got hazed. All the newbies got picked on. Some of it was funny. Some of it was actually pretty vicious, And you got picked on for everything, not just your skating, but how you looked and what you said and anything that stood out about you. So I got picked on for my height, my age, my gender, the way I skated, the way I looked. And look, I wasn't the only one, but yeah, some of it was funny, but some of it was actually pretty nasty. And like you said, it was a real boys scene going on, and I was the only girl in it. So actually, funnily enough, initially they were pretty polite because they literally didn't know what to say. And then they got to know me and got really rude. So that was a bit counterintuitive. But yeah, it was a full-on environment to try and walk into, and not one I fit into at all for a while until I just got into it. It's somebody else has said this too. Really unsupportive for beginners. It was a really unsupportive scene. People just didn't, because you sucked, people picked on you for that, and that was really discouraging, But for all that, once you got used to it, and aside from the really personal stuff, we had a lot of fun. Those guys were awesome to hang out with. It was a huge crew. And some of the shit that went down, holy cow. And we used to have fruit fights on the motorway, for God's sake. People would be chucking fruit out of the cars at each other, and then you'd get pulled over by the cops and get told off for it. And and some of the boys, and I dare say you guys know who I'm talking about, would throw almost any substance possible out the windows at passerbys. It was hilarious, but some of it was like completely outside what should have been going on. Holy cow.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised we didn't get in more trouble. But in terms of what you said about like some of the attitudes and the supportiveness of this thing, it was like, thinking back on it retrospectively, like it is exactly like you described. And it was a pretty, like, there was quite a immature demographic, and there was a lot of different age groups. So I think in terms of like meeting you for the first time, it definitely helped that you had a camera with you as well. Like I think that almost was some kind of it was some sort of like other level of acceptance, like, she's because you were always documenting what people were doing or what were skating, and it was like that was just another level of, I thought it was really cool anyway, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like it wasn't just, it was really cool that you stuck with it through all of that stuff that you described, but it was also that I think that definitely helped, like you were there not just to skate, you were also that stoked on it that you were taking photos.
Yeah, well, initially in the beginning especially, I couldn't skate any of the street spots. And
Yeah.
yet you get to that point where, especially when you're obsessed with it, that you want to hang out with the skaters anyway. And I felt like there's no point in me just running around after you while you're all skating. Although, honestly, if you think back, that's what half the crew did anyway. I mean, I've got so many pictures of people lying around on the grass while two people skated.
Yeah.
It's kind of how the weekends went down. But I thought, look, I'm just going to get bored. And I was into photography at that point anyway. And why don't I just carry a camera around? And if I can't skate it, I'll take photos of it instead. And I don't know whether you guys appreciated that or not. I mean, some people didn't like the camera on them, but I was having a great time and I got some fantastic shots out of that. And yeah, like you said, documented the scene for a while and got some really good shots from those first 3 years. And it was an entry into the scene when I couldn't skate. So it was really useful that way. But yeah, it was something I enjoyed doing too.
No one was really documenting anything at that stage. So there's like a long sustained period where you were the one documenting skating in our country and doing it really well. It was really cool.
I think people really will they may not have appreciated it then, but as time goes on, and even now, as long as you hang on to that stuff, it definitely will be like valuable and appreciated. Because I remember when I found out that Zach didn't have any of his videos. Like, I don't know where that. Does he know where they are? He said that he doesn't have any of them.
Wow.
Isaac tends to delete footage pretty quick.
It's such a waste. That's a massive amount of stuff just gone.
Yeah. And he's such a class skater. That's a real shame, man, if he's lost all of that.
Well, it's of everyone too, right? It's not just him. It's videos of like things that were happening, stuff people were skating, like and it wasn't just like over a year. It was footage from, it would be like 4 or 5 years, Liam, is that right?
Probably even longer than that when you think about when he started filming, because he started filming when he first went to America and then filmed heaps when he got back and then continued through so many different styles of clothing.
Yeah, true. I started out in baggies and went to skinnies, and pretty much everybody did, right? Back in the early O's, that was how it was. That's what the changeover was then. Yeah. True. But no, the photography, I've got 20,000 photos on an old hard drive somewhere, and if I'm not careful, I'm going to lose that. So
yeah, you got to back it up. You got to safeguard that somehow.
Yeah, exactly. But no, where was I the other day? Like, it might have been the last Hate City I was at, which was at New Plymouth, while I was temporarily back in Napier. And they were talking about the photography then, and somebody was saying, oh, they used to see me bring out the camera and go, oh, shit, now we've got to step it up. I was going, oh, that's what you actually thought. That's awesome.
Well, that's interesting too, because almost everyone we've talked to so far, the whole thing about social media has come up. And I don't think I've outright said it to anyone yet, but like I think I've alluded to the fact that it's kind of good for the scene and it's a good way to share stuff. But it's interesting. People do kind of perform for it. Yeah. So it does drive the level of skating up a little bit. Whether or not that's a good way to drive it up, I don't know, but it does.
Yeah,
that's probably
true.
Even start a photography Instagram, Heather, with all the stuff you've got. Like, you've documented so much of the scene. It'd be cool to see it all again.
Yeah, I could. Well, first I've only transferred some of it to the hard drive I'm using now, so I'd have to go dig it up and see what's actually there. But yeah, there's some good shots in there.
I had some more questions about photography here somewhere. It sort of was, Liam's actually got some photos that we're going to look at and have a talk about, but do you want to talk about like how you take photos or what you try to achieve, or was there anything specific in the way that you approached it?
I was trying to get, well, there were a few basic parameters for the skating and just for athletic photography, sports photography in the first place. I mean, I generally wanted to freeze the moment, so I was running on a really high speed, running it on a high speed frames. And I generally try and get the skater further along the trick so that it was obvious they'd done most of it. but still in their best possible style. So before you started to straighten up or shift one foot to come off or whatever. So as far as style goes, I was trying to get their best point of style.
Once they step into it.
Yeah, I mean, ideally that would be combined with the highest point in the air or 3/4 of the way along the rail. But yeah, it's generally, I quite often had it on multiple frames, and just pick off the best one. And then for a few where there were switch ups or a whole trick that you needed several frames for, that was when I got into Photoshop and started photoshopping the combined images together. Did quite a few of Danny like that, I think. But yeah, I didn't think about it all that much. I just took my camera out and tried to get a good, solidly composed photo with the skater in the best possible point in the photo.
Yeah. It looked like you took a lot of photos of just like gatherings and just general skate scene as well.
Yeah, that too. I kept thinking, on and off actually. I kept forgetting about it and then remembering it again and going, you don't want just the single tricks all over everywhere. You also want pictures of the groups and the crap that's going down and the and the boy sandwiches. Although I won't publicise any of those, but all the little threesomes and huddles and piles that I've still got photos of. So dodgy.
You're sitting on a treasure trove of those, eh?
Oh, there's some super dodgy ones, and I was gonna send you guys a couple of them, and then I thought that's probably not appropriate for public viewing, actually.
we just need to say now as a disclaimer that all these people were fully clothed and acting stupidly. There was no.
If there was a human sandwich going on, it was only ever a fully clothed pretend one. Yes, that is true.
I think I've got some photos somewhere of like people not fully clothed.
Yeah, well, look, you guys were probably in the middle of some dodgier scenes than I was, because let's face it, I didn't stay in hotel rooms with the guys and see all the really nasty stuff go down. So those late night ex-air parties and really dodgy behaviour, I wasn't around for that, and you guys were. So you've probably got worse photos than I do.
Yeah,
I haven't got pictures of you falling out of a second-story window or off a pole, Joss.
It's kind of off topic, but I've got, the little disposable cameras that you used to buy that people would put on tables at weddings.
Yeah.
I remember buying like 4 or 5 of those at an ex-air and just taking photos with them all day long. And I've got them somewhere, and I wonder if they're still, developable.
Yeah, I wonder. That's cool.
I have no idea what's on
find those.
I have no idea what's on them. I'm a little bit scared to try.
That's what I used to do.
Funny. You'd have some grubby stuff on those, I reckon.
I think so.
That's what I used to do, and that's why I got just massive photo albums of skate shots on disposable camera of us being munters.
Nice.
Did you?
But that is really cool. That's really cool, Heather, how you've done that for everyone. Like it might have just been for yourself, but it's a really cool thing for everyone that's involved, through even people that weren't skating then, to hopefully someday to be able to look at it. So I don't know how that works in terms of presenting it, making it available to people, but like Liam said, it could be.
It could, eh? I mean, remember all the chat things that were happening really early on? Like, what was the first one we were ever on? Bebo or something? Bebo or MySpace? MySpace might have been the first one, I don't know. Those really early chat sites, and they used to have an area that you could upload photos and things into, and we don't seem to have that sort of thing anymore. I mean, I suppose there's heaps of other more modern options, but it would be really cool, because some of those photos were there was some classy skating in there. It would be good to get it somewhere public.
Yeah, Did you, with skate photography, like you obviously talked about how you're trying to capture the trick and capture the style and the essence. Like, did you do any research about skate photography before you started taking it? Like, did you, go through a bunch of daily breads or B-mags, or did you just pick up a camera and go, this is what I want to see?
I must have seen the daily breads and things, and rolling magazines at that stage, because I was right into all that sort of thing about the same time, the DVDs and the magazines. So I must have seen some of the photography in that. And then after I started taking the photos, I did a bit of reading on sports photography. talk about aperture and speed and composition of the photo and stuff like that. So got the hang of that and played around a little bit too with changing around. So instead of having a high speed frozen moment of the skater, I'd move the camera with them. So that'd be the only clear thing in the shot. I was just fooling around with things like that, and that actually worked pretty well. But yeah, mostly it was the standard snap it as fast as possible and hope you've got the right light for it.
If you can do it really well, it's quite a tricky thing to do. Like I've had to go take photos of skating, but it's quite it can be quite tricky, eh?
Can be.
Liam.
Oh, cool. All right. This is very random, but kind of lends itself to some of the conversation we've been having. But can you explain your relationship with Aaron Martin?
No.
I'll add to that.
I met Aaron when I first got to know him. He was a mouthy 14-year-old. And I don't even know how we got to be such good buddies, quite frankly. I just can't even remember. But he was in the scene as a 14-year-old when I started skating. And I don't know. I didn't take much notice of him at that point, apart from thinking he was mouthy. And we just started getting on pretty well over time, actually. We just, got on. We were never like nasty to each other. We gave each other plenty of shit, but it was never nasty stuff. And we just ended up getting on really awesomely, actually. And it got to the point, and I'll always remember this, the one and only time in my life I've ever been truly stoned out of my tree was at the Skater HQ in Mount Wellington, that skater flat that some of the boys were living in for a while.
It was Tom Schofield was there, and like Danny Jensen and Irish.
Well, all those people were showing up at it. I can't even remember who was living at it. Henry for a while, and
Toby?
Gary definitely for a while, and I can't remember who else. But anyway, so that Skater HQ place was there, and that was about the point I started hanging out with the crew outside the skate sessions. So we'd all show up there about 10 o'clock at night, and we literally wouldn't leave again till 5 a.m. the next morning. And there was complete rubbish going on, but it was easy fun rubbish. And anyway, so there was always a fair bit of weed and what have you. Am I allowed to say this? Yeah.
Of course you are.
So there were substances, mostly pretty harmless and not much worse than weed, I don't think, or at least I didn't notice if there were. And they gave me this hydroponic stuff to smoke, and I didn't know it was hydroponic. And I don't smoke much at all, hardly ever. So I got completely stoned to the point where I couldn't even stand up anymore. I was like full out of body experience going on. And I can still remember Gary and Danny sitting in 2 chairs across the room just giving me complete verbal shit, and I couldn't even literally move my mouth to respond. Just no control. And then apparently I went whiter than white, and Aaron went, holy shit. And he literally hauled me off down the corridor and put me to bed.
Oh.
And I remember thinking at the time, even through this haze of nothing, I was going, oh my God, this is not a good situation to be in. I don't think these guys are going to do anything awful, but I don't totally trust them either. And Aaron literally hauled me off down the corridor and put me to bed and told everyone to butt out and leave me alone. So that was the kind of relationship we ended up with, and it was awesome.
That's good with Gary and Danny there too.
Yeah, exactly. With the Gary and Danny and a whole bunch of randoms in the flat, and you know they're not going to do anything irretrievable, but I didn't totally trust them not to humiliate me.
Yeah, your hair grows back, but could still got shade.
I've seen some of those pictures of penises that get drawn on people when they fall asleep in the wrong place.
Yeah, that's pretty tame too.
Yeah, it's actually. So yeah.
Because you end up going on a lot of skate trips, or taking the boys on a lot of skate trips, the younger dudes.
I didn't set out to be the camp mum. No, definitely not. That wasn't part of my plan at all. As far as I was concerned, I was there as a skater. But because I already had my own car, and in those early days too, because I already had my license. Yeah. Mine was one of the vehicles that everyone just piled on into. Yeah. And so when we started doing some of the away trips, the XAirs and the trip to Tauranga and whatever was happening as we got further into it. Yeah, I always usually had a car full, and we all went along on those trips and tried to sort out our accommodation in the same places and all of that stuff.
You latch on to people with cars in the skate scene, eh? I know I did.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah. You're always trying to, if you don't have a car yourself, then you're always trying to work out whose car you're going to end up in, so you're not going to get left behind, literally.
Yeah.
And did you ever have to have any weird situations where parents asked to meet who you were before you took the kids on a skate trip, or?
No, thank God. I mean, I don't actually know why not. When you stop and think about it, you're driving you're driving your crew to Wellington, or to me, they were just the crew. It's like, I'm going in the car and there's a bunch of other skaters. And then you stop and realize that the boys are probably only 15 or 16.
Yeah.
And actually, it would have been quite legit for their parents to say, who are you going with? And we need to meet them. But it never, ever happened. It's like, oh, no,
they would have never suspected you.
Yeah.
Heather, she's harmless.
I don't know if the boys sold me up to their parents and go, oh, no, we're going with this much older woman. Like, she's your age. She'll be fine. Because they just really don't want to know, because that was not my image at all.
You've been smoking weed. You've been smoking weed with that lady Heather again.
Exactly. It's like, I don't need to know that I got trespassed from my Rangi school or threw football away or skater flat. Doubt whether they told their parents any of that stuff.
That's really funny, because we had, me, Joss, and Tim, and that we had a very similar experience where we had Tash, who was our kind of skate mum and used to drive us around a bit. And I remember my parents asking to meet her, and she came around for dinner. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Skate mums. Yeah. You need a skate. You have to have a skate. Everyone had a skate parent when they're back in the day, eh?
Well, Bentley became our skate dad.
Oh my God, really?
It was kind of like a skate big brother almost.
Yeah.
It was never a dad.
No, not responsible enough to be a dad.
Considering the entire time having a few drinks and sitting on the side of the skate park and falling asleep somewhere.
Yeah. Well, actually, we were talking about Manukau, and that's probably the last time we can remember him, full on getting his boots on and skating properly. So it's a kind of it sounds really corny. It's kind of a precious time, I think.
Yeah.
I think that.
Yeah,
I got really good memories of skating under the lights there late at night with him. So, and you were there too. Niam was there. Who else used to come out there with us?
They were awesome nights.
It was just
mostly you three and me and Horgan sometimes, and Isaac showed up there sometimes, but not very often. It was usually us. And you're right. That was about the only time that I saw Bentley skating seriously, because after that he just dropped off and off and off. I met him up at Marlborough once at 8 a.m. when I was trying to work out frontside grinds on one of the ledges there. And I said, what the hell are you doing here? And he said, what the hell are you doing here? But mostly I only saw him skate at Manukau.
So jumping ahead back to your skating, like when did you feel like you started getting like fairly confident and comfortable and started getting satisfied with what you're doing?
It was probably about 18 months into it, 18 months, 2 years, I guess. I was putting in some like really hard yards on the grinds, like literally breaking them down and working them out, because I wasn't really an instinctive skater. So I had to break them down and work out what was going wrong before I started to fix it. Otherwise, I'd just keep doing the same thing over and over. And about 18 months into it, I had all of the sole grinds, and I was turning my front sides into royales, and I was getting into all the top side grinds, and I got into street because of the crew. I mean, I never would have skated street if there hadn't been such a huge crew in Auckland, and we were running around over street spots all weekend, every weekend. And so that was probably when I started to feel like, I've got a handle on this. When I started to skate street and even some decent stuff on street, and it was working fine. And it was with my whole grind repertoire. It wasn't just with a couple of things. It was with just about everything I knew at the time. So that was a real strong period for me. when I literally got all of the forwards grinds more or less in my pocket, and started street skating alongside the parks. And then, of course, a couple of years after that, the crew fell apart and street skating stopped. God damn it! But yeah, that was fun, that period. I've stopped learning since then, but that was the high learning period when a whole lot of stuff was coming into my skills bucket, if you like.
You got incredibly good at grinding, though. You mastered most things, switch and natural, mastered a lot of topside tricks, both forwards and backwards, like really, really quickly, I found. I remember being in an Abbott session with you and you're like, oh, I'm going to try the cone grind. And then pretty much straight away, oh, I'm going to try switch cone grinds.
Yeah, but the trouble was I didn't know which one was natural or switch most of the time. Yeah. I learned everything natural and switch because I didn't know which one was.
But that's such a good approach. Yeah. Like, if you can do that early on and not have an unnatural, you know. Right, my kids skateboard a lot, and I tell them, learn to drop in goofy if you're, because one of my kids is regular, one of them's goofy. I say, learn to do it the other way now, so you don't have to do it when you're 18.
Yeah, absolutely. Because if you get it right from the start, even if you stop doing it for a while, you'll still be able to get it back again. I mean, I don't skate much switch anymore because I had a whole bunch of other grinds I wanted to learn, and I didn't have time to work through the whole lot all the time. So I kind of ended up giving up on the switch as I got into some of the harder grinds like cone grind and the salves and other stuff. But learning both means that I can go back to them if I need to, especially the soles and stuff, and it makes for a whole bunch of more interesting switch ups too, actually. So it's pretty handy.
Yeah, you can skate more stuff too.
Yeah, you can skate from both sides and have a good session regardless of what side something's on. I mean, I've definitely got a safe side. Things have to be on my left for all my safety grinds, but yeah, I'll skate something on either side pretty happily.
And I guess the other bonus is it means that like not just one of your knees will be stuffed when you're 50, both of them will be.
Both of my knees are stuffed now. It's not a problem. That is the main problem I'm dealing with these days. God.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite obstacle to skate? Like, would you prefer to skate street or prefer to skate park?
Oh, I'm a park rat through and through. Yeah.
And if you go to a park, what's your favorite obstacle at a park to skate?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, my favorite obstacle for ages was a ledge. And that was pretty handy because it meant as long as it wasn't too high, I'll skate street ledges as happily as I would a park ledge. A ledge is a ledge, didn't matter. So I absolutely love ledges, but I'm having more problems these days with the jumping, which is really frustrating because my knees hurt too much, sad to say. Yeah. But they just do. So jumping off the flat is getting harder. So I'm kind of going back to my first love, which is coping. Because minis were pretty much what I learned to skate in, and I've always been happy skating, coping in a mini, and I'm starting to do more of it again simply because you've got the launch right there. But those two things, rails I loved while I was skating street, but I've hurt myself enough on them now to be scared of them.
Yeah.
I mean, rails are wonderful once you're on them, but getting onto them is damn scary, you know?
Yeah, getting off them is scary. So it sounds to me like the way you're talking, like you're kind of plateauing or you're going downhill now. Is that fair?
I hate to say it, but it probably is true. Yeah. I mean, I plateaued after the first 4 years. Like, when did I start? 2004. Around about 2009 or 10, the crew really dropped right off. All the teenagers were hitting their early 20s and getting jobs and girlfriends and partners and had to face up to the real world. So skating dropped right off and the crew dropped right off.
Yeah.
And things went really flat there for a while, and I actually hung out with the BMXers down in Manukau quite a bit, and the skateboarders at Lincoln, over in Lincoln Park, and Barry Curtis, and that went really flat. And and I was still progressing, but not much. And then there was some personal stuff going on in the middle, and picked up derby for a while. And then I came to Melbourne and it all picked up again. So it went flat and then it picked up right up because of the crews I found here. But I've got to be honest and say that I'm noticing that it's going downhill. And yeah, it's more because of my body than anything else right now. My legs just won't put up with the massive sessions I used to do. So I'm having to take it a lot easier, and tricks are taking a hell of a long time to learn, quite frankly.
I think your last two sections, though, for the ANZRO would probably beg to differ with that plateauing statement, because they're actually incredibly technical, and you've got some bangers in there that I'd never seen you do in New Zealand. So I don't think you've slowed down at all.
I'm still working on the new stuff, and actually thanks Liam, because I was super happy with the one I did for the OG entry. That did have stuff in it that honestly I've barely got fully working. But what you were saying about stepping up for the camera, Joss, before is actually true, because when I knew I was going out there to film for an actual edit, when I knew I was going out there to film, you go at it that much harder and faster, even if you're not totally sure. And you just commit to it, and your mind's in the right place, and you get on with it. So yeah, I've pulled out some new stuff in this last year, but oh my God, it's not working on everything. And back in those first learning days, when I learned something, it was working on everything. So I'd be able to do it on the ledge and on the rails and on, low rails and on coping. And pretty much if I had a trick, I'd do it on everything. And these days, I seem to be taking forever to transfer something from whatever I've learnt it on to somewhere else. Some things are a lot easier on rails, some things are a lot easier on ledges, and I'm having trouble transferring them.
But
it is kind of a shame how like the scenes sort of slowing down and falling apart here contributed to, a lack of, I guess, peer support or motivation to keep going. But that happens, doesn't it? Because it's happened, I think that's a lot of the reasons why some of us, even our age, started to fall out of it a little bit. What's the scene like that you're in now, Heather? Like, are there lots of people skating where you're living?
It's actually been a little bit cyclical here too. When I first arrived in Melbourne, skating wasn't even a priority at that point. I hadn't been doing it seriously at all for the year or two beforehand. Just never quite stopped, but not exactly pushing it either. And so I got here and wasn't really thinking about it. I even thought I might come here and do derby instead. And then I showed up to the Paran Thursday night sessions, which have been a thing for ages, and found one hell of a crew. Like, not a huge crew, but they were the best skaters in Melbourne and some of the best skaters in the country. And they were so welcoming and so supportive. And I sucked at that point, quite frankly. It was a strange park, and I was out of practice, and I was really nervous, and I made a hash of it. And they were just supportive. And so that got me all re-enthused, just hanging out with them. And then alongside that group, there's another completely separate group that are the OGs, if you like, the ones that learned to skateboard, like way back 90s skaters. And a lot of them never even transferred to street like you guys did. They just pretty much stuck with the vert and a little bit of park. And there was this huge group that were meeting up separately for all these other skate meets as well. So the scene was huge. And yet, even despite that, a lot of that's dropped off. The OGs aren't really meeting anymore. The Paran boys still are. So the Paran Thursday nights, and they're doing a lot of active street skating, but which I don't join in much, to be honest. But it's still a strong scene. But even here, it's kind of cycled downwards in the past couple of years. Yeah.
So you don't really, do you have like a specific person over there that you skate with and meet up with and skate with periodically, or is it just you out there doing it?
I'm still doing a lot of solo skating.
Yeah.
I still am. It's my thing. I don't actually mind it. I quite like it, because when you go and skate solo, you're only thinking about what you're doing. And you're not worried about somebody else, and you're not worried about what you look like in front of them. And I can literally just focus on working on stuff. So I don't mind skating solo, but you do lack the motivation. Yeah. So that motivation that you get from skating with somebody else. So I don't like skating solo all the time, but for half my time I do. And then, I've got a couple of mates in the southeast of the city who I go and we skate. There's a really big mini down there, long, like wide, whatever. We go and hang out and skate the mini in the park alongside it, which is a real cool one. And then in summer, when these daylight saving sessions are on down in Prahran, I truck down to those and hang out with those guys. And those guys at Prahran are the ones I do the skate trips with here too. So yeah, we normally have 1 or 2 skate trips a year plus whatever comps are happening. And
it's not plateauing at all.
No.
Right. It actually sounds like a really healthy, genuine like lifestyle in the sport. So yeah.
It's plateauing in
really
my
good.
mind. It's plateauing in my mind because I'm only doing it once or twice a week. But yeah, it's still a really active scene. Yeah.
Once or twice a week
Cool.
is a still fairly good amount of skating to get in.
Yeah, I guess.
This is random too, but like, what was your first experience skating with another female? Was it in Australia or did you skate with other females in New Zealand?
I have a feeling the first female I ever skated with was Tyler Christensen in Napier.
Oh, yeah.
I think so. Yeah, I was pretty shocked actually to find another woman on skates.
Was that at Skate Zone?
And then I remember Jamie's partner and Scott's partner. Both of them were on skates for a little while too.
Oh, Rachel.
So yeah, Rachel. So for a fairly short while, if I met up with the ANZRO guys, I was skating with those two as well. So there was like this faint female presence in New Zealand. Tyler was probably more active than the other two. But yeah, my first real sessions were when I showed up over here and found Shine and a few other girls here and skated with them. I've hardly skated with Jenny at all because, of course, her own skating was tailing right off ages ago. A few times at a few indoor park nights skated with her, and then competed against her twice. But yeah, not skated with her that much at all because she's not doing much of it anymore.
And so how did you place against Jenny?
She won and I came second in the first one, and I won and she came second in the second one. So that was pretty cool. That was quite satisfying.
Jenny's a good human, hey? Like, she's been so supportive of our scene here.
Oh, she's fantastic. Yeah, she's just fantastic. So supportive and so happy to see you and talk about it all. And she was the one who gave me hints on how to skate a competition at all. Yeah, no, she's awesome.
Pretty impressive skater too. I remember bumping into her at a Brisbane house with Marlon and the Darside boys, and yeah, she was really, really good.
Yeah. The first time I skated one of the indoor parks here, and it's not one I find easy to skate. It's wood and it's slow, and I find it hard to get speed. And she was.
Shed?
No, it was Empire. What was it called back then? Rampart.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the shed's fantastic. If you guys ever come over, you should go to the shed. But yeah, Rampart's the slow park with cramped ramps, and she was just floating around it, popping over everything and just throwing these totally casual Elliot Mizus on the coping and stuff like that. It's so casual, man.
Local ripper, eh?
Oh, yeah.
What are your worst injuries?
Oh, my God. I could make like a hypochondriac at this point.
Have you broken stuff, though?
Eh?
Have you broken stuff?
Yes. So I started in January 2004, and in November I broke my first ankle. And that was really mentally awful because I figured I didn't know at that point how long I was even going to be skating, and breaking a bone was a hell of a shock. And I sat there with this broken ankle and thought, what do I do now? Do I carry on or do I give it up if this sort of thing's going to start happening? So that was nasty. And so then I jinked around on one foot in a pair of crutches with my camera in hand for a while, following you guys around, and then got back on my skates and broke the other ankle in April. So they were literally 4 months apart. I broke both my ankles.
How did you break your ankles skating?
I have a feeling that I've actually got slightly weak ankle bones anyway. So, and I don't think the Roshi's growls that were my first aggressive skates, I think they had too rigid a cuff, and those weren't a good combination. So when I buckled sideways. My weak ankle bone met the skate, and that was the end of that. So I broke the first one doing 5s at Glendowie, trying 540s at Glendowie.
Yeah.
And then I broke the second one doing switch front sides on that tiny down ledge at Glendowie. So that wasn't great. But they weren't, apart from the mental shock, they weren't all that bad. I mean, they plated them and now they're strong and they'll probably never break again. So that's awesome. My worst visual injury was probably the broken collarbone. And that was the day I went to Anti-Rocker, and I did it in Marlborough Park. And there were those 2 really deep little bowls there, and you went into them from the side, so they were kind of open to the park, and you went screaming over the lip and into the bowl and just whizzed around it at the rate of knots, which worked fine a few times. And then I slipped out on the entry because, Anti-Rocker, no middle wheels anymore. And literally hit the far side of the bowl and just went flying and blacked out completely, and then really briefly, and then came to and went, oh, something's really wrong. And I don't know what it is, but it's really wrong. And apparently blood was pouring down the back of my head as well. So I'd split my head open. Didn't even notice because I was too busy worrying about the collarbone. And the collarbone healed upside down. So now I've got this awful collarbone that goes like this instead of like that. It looks horrible.
That's cool.
One, yeah.
Did you have to drive yourself to the hospital after that?
I drove myself to the hospital with a broken ankle. But no, when I did the collarbone, Ben and somebody else, young Ben, was with me. And they took me to the hospital and kind of hung around while we all got sorted out. Yeah. So no, luckily I wasn't alone for that one. What else have I done? Oh, I got a hematoma on my liver falling on the Wesley rail. That was a bit weird. I could feel this lump and I was going, well, that doesn't feel so good. But look, it went away in its own time eventually.
I'll tell Scott because he's probably got a hematoma or 2 on his liver.
I'm guessing not from the Wesley rail.
No.
That won't go away either.
Yeah, and look, apart from that, I've dislocated a couple of fingers, which is hardly ideal for music, but they work okay. And got a black eye and just dealing with the knee ligaments, actually. And the knee ligaments now are proving to be the worst injuries, of course, because they just take forever to heal and never quite heal properly. And they really hold up your skating. So yeah, that's kind of my injury list, I guess.
Fairly decent one. When you're back in the day, like a couple of years into it, when you start to get good, was there someone that you looked up to in skating, or someone that you tried to sort of emulate or learn from? And who is it now, if there's someone else? Or is it mainly just you? Because you sound like you do a lot of stuff just by yourself, for yourself.
There's a lot of skaters I admire, but there's nobody I'd model myself on, I don't think. I mean, back in the day, it was all the super predictable mainstream stuff. Aragon and Haffey were at the top of their game back then, and just seemed to be able to skate everything and have all the tricks. So I certainly admired them. I really enjoyed Jeff Stockwell as a skater. Just his ability in a park to skate an entire park backwards and do all his tricks at the same time as well. Never mind what he could do on street. He had some of the best salves. Man, his Savannas were fantastic. So all of those guys. Gonzo, because he just made everything look amazing because he was so damn short. So, he was a great skater to watch. And then these days, there's a few I follow. I mean, I probably follow more now because I'm finally on Instagram seeing what they're all doing. So Michel Prado, I don't know if that's how you say his name. Michael?
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Michel Prado, he's one of the ones I really admire.
He's still dropping big hammers, eh?
Yeah, fantastic. And I quite like Bobby Spazov. His style's a bit odd. It's like his hands stay by his side the whole time, but I quite like it. Yeah. But his feet are always just perfect. So, and there's so many more. I couldn't even mention them, actually, to be honest. But on the girls' side of things, the ones I watch the most are China Westall, who's just fantastic. Chihiro, is her last name Ahuma, that Japanese girl?
Oh yeah, she's impressive, eh?
She's super good. She won the Blading Cup last year, I think. She's
Was
really
it-
good.
I don't understand. She's got like Elliot topsoles, super consistent on rail.
And I'm certainly that's one of the ones I'm working on at the moment and really struggling with, because your foot just disappears under you the whole time. It's just horrible on anything except coping. Chihiro's another one. Mary Munoz, of course, and Martina Svobodova.
Yeah.
And she was one of the women I noticed back in the day when I was starting, and she was on street and making it look amazing. And she was in baggies on street at that time too, and just fantastic. And now she's popped out of the woodwork again 10, 15 years later and got back into it and still looks amazing and can still pull out a perfect alley-oop top horn down a handrail. Yeah, she's really fantastic. So style-wise, if I could skate like she could, I'd actually be pretty happy. And make it look as easy as Chinna does. That'd be nice.
It's a good list. Interestingly enough, you mentioned Jeff Stockwell, because I've always thought that Joss looks incredibly like Jeff Stockwell.
Well, that minor fact that they're both gingers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe. I mean, Joss knows how to flow around a park, and so did Stockwell. So yeah, that's true. Or did know.
Yeah.
What can I say?
Yeah.
So after your Auckland stint, you kind of transitioned to Hawke's Bay and spent a bit of time there. What was the kind of draw to the Hawke's Bay?
Yeah, well, my parents live in Hawke's Bay. Well, my dad's gone now, but mum still does. So yeah, of course, I was trucking back and forth down to Hawke's Bay all the time to see my parents. And once I discovered the Napier Park, and the original park was pretty fantastic, let's face it, all those ramps and real big stuff too. So for once, you get decent sized ramps and obstacles. And remember the rail that used to be there on the far side of the park with a ramp on each side of it? That was the first rail I sold, I think, beyond tiny ones on the ground. And then, that rail was so awesome. I remember one session with the Artua boys where I literally pulled out every topside I had on the rail, and I didn't even know I could do them on rails at that point. So that was a whole lot of fun. The Napier Park there, and then and I just went back and forth whenever I saw my parents down there. And then I was living, after I came to Melbourne, I went back to Napier again to try and live about 18 months after I was here. So, of course, I was hanging out over there when skating the park, and then lockdown came along, and I was there for a period of lockdown as well, and that was why I filmed the first ANZRO entry in Hastings Park, because I was actually helping mum look after dad, and I was back in Napier for 4 months while Melbourne was in lockdown. So it actually worked out really well when they decided to do that ANZRO as an online edit. In fact, I had more freedom to do it than anybody in Melbourne, I'd say, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, so I've hung out in Napier quite a lot over the years, and I hated when they mowed the old one and built the new one. It was just revolting. It was horrible. Don't know if you guys ever skated it, but it was just awful. And actually, when I was there for that lockdown stint, Van was there building the new park. So that was actually pretty awesome, because we ended up with a little skate crew in Napier during that period quite recently while he was building the new park, and we were all filming for ANZRO and actually having quite a lot of fun. That was good.
Yeah, because he came up with 4 edits out of that little group of people at the time, because Kevin had one, Michael Farr had one.
Yeah. Van put one in and I put one in, all out of the Hastings Park pretty much. That was fun.
And I think, you won yours, Tim came 4th, and then Michael Farr got best comeback.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we did all right out of that one.
Yeah.
That's representing.
So what's your go-to trick?
Oh God. On ledges, it's a royale. On coping, it's a kind grind.
And if there's one trick you could do for the rest of your life?
Actually, probably on coping. But yeah, ledges these days, it would be royales. Or back unity, actually.
Yeah.
Used to back unity everything. It was just a comfortable trick. Still is, actually.
So is your sole foot on a kind grind your royale foot?
I sole on my left foot and I kind grind on my right.
So your sole foot on a kind grind is your right foot?
My kind grind foot, my topside foot is my right foot,
But you
I thought you
royale with
fine
your
grinded the
left
other
foot.
way.
but I royale with my left foot.
Right. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yes, because the first kind grinds I ever did were on my left foot.
yeah.
And then at some point I switched and discovered that I was more comfortable doing them on my right foot. But I skate, all of my forwards tricks are right foot forward.
Yeah.
So that means half of them are on one side and half of them are on the other side. So my soul and my acid are left foot, but my pawn and my mistrial are right foot. And it's the top sides. So that's how it translates over pretty much. Yeah. But it does mean that a lot of what I can do on my right foot, I can do reasonably easy on my left as well as a switch trick.
Yeah.
Because my left's already my strong foot. So yeah, it's all a bit weird, but it does kind of make sense in its own weird way.
So since you broke your ankles and you broke one of them doing 540s, do you do spins down stuff anymore or over stuff?
I love spins, but I've never been very good at them. I could not spin around Manukau the way you guys could. I could not hoik a 540 over the center ramp or a hip or anything like that, but I really enjoy spins still. Yeah. I mostly need a decent ramp to get a good spin going. But yeah, I'll three both ways quite happily. One way up coping and another way up ramp, so don't ask me why. And I'm still trying to work on the 540s, but I don't know if I'm ever going to get a decent 540 working off a short ramp. It just I can't seem to get into the air actually.
Just down a big set of stairs and you'll feel better about them.
I don't know about that, but yes, I'll still happily do gaps and stairs and whatever. Yeah. I figure that now that my ankles are plated, they're not going to break, so I should be fine.
You've got the protection there.
Exactly, I've got the additional support now.
You're quite, what's come out through the whole podcast is you're quite analytical in terms of the way that you look at skating and the way you understand skating. Do you think that's contributed to how good a skater you are, the way you think about it?
Yes and no. For me, yes, absolutely. Because I've overthought everything and sat down and worked it out, then I'm able to work out what I'm doing wrong. And I've thought about it far too much over the years anyway, and written myself endless trick lists and worked out what relates to what and what I could work on and what might flow on from that one and what switch ups will be logical. So yeah, from that point of view, it's given me an endless progression list, if you like.
Yeah.
And maybe it's helped my actual, in fact, it has undeniably helped my actual skating because I'm able to sit down and work out what's going on. But, you know, other people are far better than me and just do it instinctively. Just go with how it feels. And that works super well for a lot of people who are absolutely amazing. So I guess it's what suits the individual, you know?
Yeah,
Well,
I think, yeah. Sorry, Nev, you go.
I was going to say, actually, I found in my older age when I came back after one of the many injuries, but I was thinking about skating more and I became a better skater as a result of it because I developed that analytical way of thinking about it and understanding how my body was going to be positioned. So I actually found the instinctive part worked in my youth, but in my older age, the analytical part is where you measure how your element of safety.
When consequences start being a thing. Yeah, well, you know, it took me ages to work out, and this was early on too, it took me ages to work out that the reason I wasn't getting on anything was because I wasn't bending my knees to jump. I mean, something as little as that. And it seems to be, and I really don't like saying this, but it seems to be a gender thing. The guys just do it instinctively. You bend your knees to jump. And then I was watching the girls over here, and especially a couple of beginner skaters, and they weren't doing it. They were trying to jump without bending their knees. And I was going, oh my God, it's actually not instinctive. And you have to remind yourself to do it. And it made a hell of a difference. And these days, I've realized that one of the reasons I can't get on very high stuff is because I literally don't pull my legs up enough. So it's not even the bending your knees in the first place. It's the pulling the legs up and getting them up. don't get that high above a grind, what they're doing is pulling their knees way up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's actually taken me a ridiculous amount of time to work some of the stuff out, but it definitely helps once you do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's harder when you get older too. Like,
Definitely is.
yeah, you are finding that you actually have to put a certain amount of time into actually keeping yourself actually even just strong enough to do stuff. You know?
Yeah, you do, right?
So
yeah, you've got to think about doing a bit of cross training, and you've got to think about stretching and looking after yourself. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, and like you're saying, Liam, like you're conscious of what your body's able to do and what you want it to do. So you kind of, I guess you act accordingly, right? Like your trick selection goes down, or I suppose your expectation goes down a little bit too, which helps. But just the fact that you're still doing it here, there, and you're still like thinking about it like that, and still you're into it is pretty cool. It's quite admirable for someone. I hate to say of your age, but of your age. You know?
Yeah, I know, right? I hate to say it too, but yes.
Yeah.
I end up in skate parks all the time with people going, "Oh, have you got kids here?"
I'm a kid.
Damn it, no, I don't. I can't even use that as an excuse.
I'm 34, man. Leave me alone.
Yeah.
So what do you do? What do you do now for money?
I'm still working in the university system. So I did in Auckland, and I came over here and worked a couple of separate jobs, and then got a job in one of the universities here. So on the business side, not the teaching side.
Yep.
So I kind of do the business operations for one of the really big teaching schools, and try and run that team. Went through a restructure in Auckland that was the reason I left Auckland, and have just been through another restructure here, which wasn't a heap. So yeah, that's really awesome. And the good thing for skating is that it means it's a desk job, and it doesn't matter if I'm beaten up. So yeah, it's quite handy for that. I don't rely on my physical well-being to do my job, I guess, which has been quite reassuring. But it means also that I'm dead keen to get out skating, because I'm sitting at a desk all day.
Yeah.
So it's nice to get out and get physical afterwards, or whatever else I think I can handle as far as exercise goes.
Because you're also a really accomplished musician, eh?
Yeah, music's been a part of my life for a long, long time, and it's come and gone a little bit. I did piano super seriously as a kid, and right through university, and then got burnt out at university and dropped it entirely for a while.
Yeah.
And then I learnt cello as an adult. Actually, I've been doing it for about 4 years when I got involved in rollerblading, and rollerblading didn't do it any favors at all, because I got so hooked on the rollerblading that I stopped practicing cello. And not to mention the damage and the risk to your hands. Oh my God. And I was about to sit a major exam on cello the year I picked up rollerblading too. So that wasn't great timing. But yeah, music, even though it's come and gone a bit, I'm just so grateful to still have it. And I'm back into it pretty seriously at the moment. Playing in an orchestra again, which is really awesome, and it gives you something to practice for, I guess, gives you a reason to do it. Playing piano on the side as well. So yeah, music's a big part of my life, and hopefully will be for a very long time. I mean, people play music until they're like wrinkly and old and can barely get off the piano stool. So hopefully it'll be for ages.
Yeah, maybe that's where some of your analytical approach to skating comes from.
True.
Yeah, maybe. That sort of structured analysis of things. Yeah.
I think we've got some photos to look at.
Yeah, I've got a couple more questions, and I was hoping we could phone our next guest in, Joss, and then go into the photos at the end.
Yeah. We're going to do that. Okay.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Why are you asking me? This is your show as well.
True. It's a collaboration, a partnership. This is a controversial one with Joss, but what do you think of the term bladey? And do you think it accurately describes a female blader?
I like it. I'll be totally upfront and say I like it as a term. Yep. It's a pretty popular one. I don't find it offensive at all. I don't mind it at all. It's quite a nice brand in a way. Do you hate it, Joss?
Well, okay. I only just found out about it an hour ago.
No, you're not serious.
I am. Like, I don't know. I thought Neem sent me a list of his questions, and I saw it in there, and I was like, okay, it's a typo. There's no such thing as a bladey. He was trying to write blader. Then I read the context of the question. And I was like, bladey is a thing. Like, why do we have to call you a certain thing? Like, why are you a bladey? You're a blader. Like, you're a skater. I don't know. I can understand why you wouldn't have a problem with it, and I guess I don't have a problem with it. I don't hate it. I just think it's kind of, maybe it's just that it's kind of corny.
Yeah, well, from a gender point of view, as you say, it's unnecessary. We're all bladers, and blader is gender neutral. Yeah. So you don't need it. But as far as a description of female bladers go, it's one I don't mind.
To me,
I actually like that better than I would if you turned it into the full term and said a blader lady or a lady blader. I would find lady blader quite offensive, but I don't like lady. So there you go.
Okay, yeah, if you put it that way, I get it. Yeah, I do get it. But to me, like, we're all like, you're just a skater, right? You're another skater.
Mm. And that's how I've always wanted to be anyway. So yes, from that point of view, I've got to agree with you.
I think it's kind of it's the cutesy thing that pisses me off about it, you know?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm glad we're talking about it.
Yeah, okay. Anyway. Yeah.
I would not necessarily describe, for a kickoff, it's a term within the sport anyway, so nobody else would even understand it. But I would not describe myself as a bladee. I would describe myself as a blader. I didn't I want to be good at the sport full stop, or I wanted to be good at the sport full stop. I didn't want to be good at the sport for a girl. So yeah, I would describe myself first and foremost as a blader. But yeah, if you want to describe the female section of it, I guess bladee's okay.
Was that part of the motivation as well for entering the OG section, like having two sections in the ANZRO?
That was absolutely my motivation for entering the OG section. I thought, I don't know how much more competing I can be bothered doing.
Yeah.
I don't like competing. It makes me super stressed out. And I thought, you know what? Before I give this whole thing up, I would quite like to just make that point that I can put an edit into a open section. Well, not open, but open an open gender section, not just the female section. Yeah, that was absolutely why I did it. And sure, I'm not going to get placed or anything, but I wanted to. Well, I hoped that I wouldn't be disgraced either, and I don't think I was, so that's right.
No, you definitely weren't disgraced. You definitely held your own, and there was long-term pros in that category. And,
you held your own. Strong skaters in that category. It's a massive category. So yeah, I was pretty happy with how that stacked up, and I'm really pleased I did it. And
did you hold clips back from your other section for the OG? Like, did you go, right, I'm going to... Absolutely.
I kind of had a vague idea in mind what I wanted for each one. I wasn't even sure I'd get enough clips for both of them at first. But then once I'd got a handful in the bag, I thought, yeah, I might be able to do this. And then definitely I started picking clips on the basis of what I thought would win the Bladies category while wanting to keep the best clips for the OG category. That was pretty much how I went about it. Yep.
That's cool.
That's right. Oh, we'll have a quick interruption and phone our next guest, just so the suspense is over, and then we've got a bunch of photos for you, Heather.
Cool. So, righty. Do it.
Sorry, Josh, you didn't even know who this person is next.
No, it's exciting. I'm a guest now.
I hope this works too.
Hello.
Hey, how you doing, man?
Pretty good, yourself?
Oh, not bad. We've got Heather on the line and Joss. And guys, we've got the voice of blading on the show. Brandon Drummond is our next guest on the Shodcast.
Buzzcut, Brandon, how you going?
Yeah, I'm absolutely honoured. Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome, man. Thank you so much for agreeing to do it with us. And yeah, we can't wait to tee up an episode with you at some stage in the future. well, next.
Yeah, sounds good. Can't wait. Should be good.
Cheers, man. Thank you for staying awake too.
Yeah, no worries. You're the Australian time zone, right?
Yeah. I know you've got
pretty early here.
Twitch starts.
All right.
Sweet, man. All right, well, I'll be in touch.
Sweet. Yeah. See you soon.
Okay, later, Brandon.
Later.
Done. There you go. So you know who our next one is.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, another solid guy in the scene at the moment.
Yeah, he's done some big things. Yeah, just like me and Joss making big moves.
Yeah, on that note,
waving the flag high.
we talked to we actually had a really brief discussion before coming on to film tonight. We asked someone else. I'm not going to name names. You know who you are. But you will come on the show. You will do the interview, whether or not you think you'll be interesting or not. So
I think that's something everybody worries about. It was definitely something I was wondering too. Like who really wants to?
Like my comment to this individual, well, not directly to him, was that like the reason that we ask people to come on is because you're genuinely like a big part of the scene, and whether or not you think you do or not, like it is interesting and people are interested, and you're part of the New Zealand scene. So I'm not saying you owe it to the scene, but you know.
But you owe it to the scene.
But you owe it to the scene. You kind of do. Like we're doing this thing. Like we're I hate to say it, we're making the effort to do this. It'd be cool if like everyone would just get on board with it. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, it is. It's super interesting to hear everyone's backstories so far. I didn't realize that Ryan started the same year as I did. Just stuff, and hearing what Kelvin's doing with his shop and hearing the 90s stories from Nui and all that. It's really interesting.
Yeah. Another interesting thing I found about it is it's interesting to do it now. Like, I know we never would have done this then because it just wouldn't have been something we would have considered doing, but it's interesting to do it now when everyone's got a different perspective. Like it's a retrospective view of what happened and thinking about some of the things that happened. Like, really, we all kind of owe you an apology, Heather, for some of the shit that went down, especially, like, I think a lot of people would agree that it's different. It's a different scene now. Like if you were starting skating now, it would have been a totally different level of maturity and level of acceptance, level of support. So, Yeah,
you're right. It was. The scene's definitely changed, and that's a really good thing, because rollerblading struggles enough without turning off all the beginners, and there's a hell of a lot more support for beginners out there, even while we're all wincing at their style. You kind of hide that away and encourage them anyway, so that's awesome. But I agree. It was pretty immature back then. It's a pretty good way to describe it, and everyone's grown up a lot since then and got on with their lives a lot. So this is a way better time to be doing things like the podcasts, when you can look back on it across a few years and see where you've come since then and be able to look at it more analytically anyway. Yeah,
it's good for that. So
apologies for running away. I just heard my 11-year-old son singing in his room playing a video game, so at 10 o'clock at night, so I just had to kick him off.
Good luck. You just go back to it and do it quietly.
Do you want to jump onto the photos, Joss?
Yeah. I think I've exhausted my list of questions. So yeah.
Cool. Okay.
I'm excited to see photos.
It's going to be funny.
Oh, I got a bit better at this time. So these are all photos that you've taken here. There's some that you've curated and some that we have.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So if you've got any stories to some of these, sing out.
The big crew days. Wow, and the mad behaviour. Yes.
Yeah.
So, I laugh at a lot of these because this was so much what happened out on during all the street skating on all the weekends we were doing it. It's like tons of bladers there, but most of them were just sitting around doing absolutely nothing, watching a few people go hard. And And when it was like down on the quay, like that one on the bottom right,
Yeah.
we were just in everyone's way. But the good thing was the crew was so absolutely huge that nobody was willing to take us on. Whereas if you were out there and just 2 or 3 of you, the passerbys would get really, really grumpy. But when you've got a crew that big, nobody's going to say anything.
Yeah, true.
The one of Gary, obviously, this is Gary being Gary. He was literally standing there threatening the passerbys with that stick, as far as I can remember. Like he would step up and wave it at them, raise it threateningly as soon as a car came past. It's going, oh my God, it's time to go.
I feel that's something Gary would do now too.
Oh yeah, I haven't laid eyes on him for years, but I don't know whether the basic personality's gone changed, right? So yeah, I don't know where the guys got that box from that Johnny's writing on. But I remember they must have made it. Danny or Johnny must have made it, right?
I was wondering if it was Johnny writing that.
Yeah, it's Johnny writing it, Johnny Jensen. And yeah, they had it hooked up to the car and they were just towing it round and round and round. I don't even know what spot we were at that point, but clearly we weren't skating.
Oh, look, top left. I didn't realise how young Aaron was sitting next to me. Like he's.
Yeah, I know. Everyone looks a bit younger in that photo.
Like I'm 25 there, so he must be like, fuck. I don't know what. 13?
I'm pretty sure that was pretty early on. Like that would have only been what, 2004, 2005, maybe 2006. Yeah. So yeah,
I'd probably say 2006 actually.
Yeah. So he would have still only been 15, 16 probably. Yeah. Real early days. That was in Newmarket where that flat rail was that everyone hit up.
That was a cool little rail. I used to like hitting that, but you'd have to come down that hill and then carve in at the last minute and hit it.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't the easiest approach, but you guys seem to do all right on it.
I'll move into the next one. This works. No, it's not working. Hold on 1 second.
I wish I was doing this on a projector or a big screen.
Yeah, these collages are set up for fairly high res viewing actually. So
yeah,
if anyone's watching them on a TV, it'll probably show all right.
Having to repair it now. So 1 second, I'll just stop sharing.
This is why it's called a Shodcast.
Yeah.
Was that just your caveat in case of all the shit happening?
Yeah, just in case.
I'm surprised it's this high tech, to be honest. Well, actually, this is an international interview episode. Right?
It's our first international episode.
Well,
yeah,
hey,
it's kind of a global thing.
You've gone international. Congratulations.
Yeah.
I hope you're planning on getting Danny on at some point.
He was meant to be next. How's that for a spoiler?
I'll rack him up. I'll go, if I can do it, you can definitely do it.
It sounded really bad. Like, Brandon, we're not saying that you were like a runner-up or anything, but yeah.
Let me
respond to better things since Danny turned it down.
There we go. I'm back.
All right.
Let's hopefully this works. Yeah, it's going to work.
Okay. Yeah. This one is the OG meets that a lot of, or all of which you organised, Liam. I can't remember.
Teagles was the first one.
You were definitely behind driving some of these. So these were fantastic because these were in my middle years, if you like, when things had gone quite quiet and there wasn't really a massively active crew. And so it was really pretty awesome to suddenly have these meets going on. And I think we ran one in February and a couple in November.
Yeah.
I think from memory. So yeah, that's where most of the photos, apart from the one at the bottom right, came from, are the OG meets. Meeting up in Vic Park and, oh God, where were we? Barry Curtis and
Albany.
That one of the two of you on I just laughed when I saw that. I'd forgotten I even had that one. You were actually trying to hold hands, I'm pretty sure.
No, yeah, we did hold hands.
Yeah.
We did it before. Remember, Joss, at a comp in Auckland on a flat rail at the old Vic Park.
Nice.
We had a few goes at that. We're pretty good at doing the double hand gay grind, eh?
Yeah, we are.
You two weren't the two that did the double 360 at Exia, were you? I'm
Yeah,
sure I remember somebody doing that. And you had to hold your hands in a really weird way to do it. Was that you two?
Pretty sure it was you and me, Nia, and we had to was it us?
I don't know. I remember trying something like that once.
Yeah.
You had to hold hands, and then you had to
spin opposite ways
spin
to make it work.
left and right, and then grab on the other side as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did all sorts of stupid shit. So.
There you go. This is just part of it.
Synchronized skating.
Yeah, and so one of the few late photos of Bentley on his skates still, and that was I think that was Randwick actually, that one, and then Ryan alongside that, looking
Very young.
looking a bit younger than he is now,
Yeah.
with less hair probably. So that was the OG meets. They were a lot of fun. Getting everybody together because the Christchurch boys are in that top right one. They came up for it as well. They were really good gatherings. Oh yeah, and bottom left, of course. And then Hate City, I totally cribbed that one off you, Dexter, if you're watching this. Hate City down in Napier, that was fun as well.
He's done an awesome job with those, over the time.
He really has. They've gone for a long time.
Yeah,
Much
the
longer
only
than I probably
consistent
thought they would.
get together in New Zealand skating, really.
Yeah, yeah. For a while, they were pretty much the only thing going on over the years. So they were awesome. I didn't make it to all that many of them, but they were pretty cool.
I do wonder what Guy's trying to grab down the bottom left. Like he's grabbing Carl in a particular way, and it looks pretty creepy on it.
It's just the way he's holding his mouth. It's super creepy. Yes. Yes.
Move on to the next one.
These are my Melbourne photos. So yeah, there won't be probably all that many familiar faces in these, apart from the one in the middle, which was the Hate City in New Plymouth when I was home in Napier.
Oh, you can see Todd there, and
yeah, that was a super cool gathering. There were a lot of people there that I barely even knew actually, and then a whole lot of old faces I hadn't seen for ages. So that was a massive one.
Tons of people.
Super good job by Kelvin and Dex getting that group together.
Is there a pair of crutches in there?
Yeah, somebody was on crutches. Yep.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was pretty fun. And then all the others are just some of the gatherings we've had here in Melbourne, which is cool. Matt Caratelli was running a wee invitational for a while. That's the top left one. That was a huge turnout actually.
Yeah.
And an away trip in Yay, and then bottom left was Bairnsdale, and bottom right was the second year at Bairnsdale, which seems to be turning into one of the regular ones here. So Bairnsdale is about 2 hours. It's in regional Victoria, so it's still in the state, but it's about a 2-hour trip away, and there's a really good skate park there. So Simon Kelly decided that we needed something on the calendar a bit more regularly, and he's put this into the calendar, and we'll go trucking off down there in March and have a good time. So it's cool actually to still be doing the away trips, because they were a great part of the Auckland years as well, those away trips.
Yeah,
So
you kind of lucky that
Kelly?
you can still organize things so easily.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky that there's a lot of active skaters here still, even if they don't necessarily show up in the same place at the same time, as happens everywhere. but yeah, so there's a lot of active skaters, and when something like this is on, a lot of them will show up, and you always have such a good time on their away trips.
Cool.
Right. And what's the story with the top right photo?
Those two on the top right are both the Wednesday night Dockland skate. So that's actually a recreational skate, nothing to do with aggressive. There used to be you'd get 100 skaters and rollerbladers and skateboarders and their kids and people, the odd person on a bike and electric skateboards and all that sort of shit showing up, and you'd skate literally around the city at night. It's a lot of fun. A lot of fun.
Me and Josh did one of those in Melbourne.
Yeah, I remember that.
We did a Docklands ride when we went there.
Nice. Yeah, so those are those. And for a while it was huge, but the people who organised it have actually kind of moved on. So it's gone back to being really small. But those were both out of that. And the one on the right was the, I think it was the Halloween skate. So it was a theme one. So we got dressed up. We went along as French Kiss, I think.
Awesome. Can I ask the photo on the top left? Is that dude a random dude? The dude wearing the suit that's just joined the photo? Is he
No, he's actually one of the bladers.
wearing a suit?
But I'm not at all sure he was actually blading. I'm pretty sure he just showed up late and in a suit.
Just looks a little bit out of place.
Yeah. No, he's actually genuinely a skater and not just somebody who leapt into the photo and photobombed it.
And before I move on to that, the photo in the centre of Hate City and New Plymouth,
Yeah.
I just noticed Isaac on the left-hand side with the
Yeah.
skates halfway down.
looking dodgy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Looking
he's
like he's
about
just folded
to
in from the side, basically.
he's
On
about
the
to moon the
fringes, eh?
camera.
Oh, you reckon he's about to moon the camera? Well, that's
Yeah.
possible. Yeah.
It's the most documented arse in all of rollerblading. That 'cause
Oh
he's
my
always
God,
mooning the camera.
yes, there's quite a bit of footage of it. That is true.
Yeah. On to the next one.
Derby,
You'll have to explain Derby.
the Derby. Yeah. Yeah. So when things went flat in Auckland, this was probably about 2013 to 2016, I think. I switched over to Derby for a while. I thought it might involve less injury, which was a joke. It didn't. And just thought I'd try something else if rollerblading might be on its way out. So yeah, I had a go at this, and it was a lot of fun, but a hell of a lot of commitment, you know. If you're going to do Derby, you've got to be prepared for it to take over your life, because you've got to train a couple of times a week and play games at the weekend and belong to a couple of committees, because it's all run by the skaters, but it's a proper league, and do all the fundraising, and it just takes up so much time. And
Plus, you have to roller skate.
Plus, you have to roller skate, which was exciting in itself, because I wasn't used to articulated wheels that moved around underneath me. So that was a bit alarming for a while. So yeah, obviously I already knew how to skate, so I had a massive advantage and cruised on through what they call the fresh meat training. But the trouble was I didn't actually know how to play derby. So they chucked me straight into the travel teams because I could skate, but I didn't have any idea what I was supposed to be doing on the derby, and I hadn't worked out the tactics, and I didn't know where I was supposed to be if their jammer was coming at you or your jammer was trying to get through, and I just didn't have a handle on it at all. So for a while there, it was just floundering. Clicked in onto it in the last year or so, and had a really good time after that, because I knew what I was doing out on the rink. So yeah, the derby was fun, but it was a lot of commitment and not all that less damaging, to be honest.
Yeah. And what was the derby name, and how did you come about picking the derby name?
Derby name. My derby name was Velvet Hammer. I wanted something soft and girly followed by something threatening.
It's golden.
That's literally how I went about it. So yes.
Funny.
Nice.
The Velvet Hammer.
The Velvet Hammer. I'm afraid so.
So rad. All right, we're going to get on to some skating photos now. Oh no. Next collage that you can put together.
Oh, the competition stuff. Yes.
Is that Jody down there at bottom left as well?
That is Jody, yeah.
Jody Tyler, rad.
It's a cool photo.
That was the Brisbane one where I came in second behind Jenny. So Jenny's in that photo as well.
Oh, she's on the far left.
She's on the far left, and Jody's on the right. Yeah. So yeah, Jody showed up and skated in that comp as well. And that was actually fantastic. We got on super well. We had a good time.
That's a cool photo. I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was
What is she doing? Is she doing Elliot top porn, or is it Ford's?
Hey, what?
Oh, that's Ford's top porn. That's Heather.
It
on
is
that
Ford's?
side.
That's me, and that's a Ford's top one. Yeah.
It's the mute over the box is cool too. That's a nice photo.
Yeah, I actually pulled that off a video. So.
And so did I. You'll notice it's in your promo video that's now on Instagram.
Oh, okay, nice. Yeah. Yeah, so top left was the very first comp. And he was telling us that we had to do a solo run first. And I was going, you have to be kidding me. I don't even want to be here at all. And you're telling me we have to do a solo run to introduce yourself. And I was going, I just want to leave now. I don't even want to be here anymore. That was really alarming, but yeah, worked out all right. I still remember getting a message from Union during that one, because I'd posted up a clip of the competition going on, and you said, "Oh, is Kirtsy going to enter it?" and I waited until the results came out because I was waiting on the results for the women's comp. I went, yeah, actually, Kirtsy just won it.
You might have to explain why I occasionally call you Kirtsy now.
Yeah, that goes back a ways. That's because we all went down to Christchurch really super early on, and somebody spotted my plane ticket and realized that my real name's Kirtsy. Or was it you? It was actually you. Okay.
Huh.
Yeah, and realized that my first name's actually Kirtsy. So everyone thought I'd been holding out on them, or I had a doppelganger or something going on, but no, it's just my first name is Kirtsy and my second name happens to be Heather. So there you go. Now I get called Kirtsy as well. Thanks, Liam.
Only every
You
now and
took the
again.
velvet hammer to me now.
You know, Nui took a picture where, oh God, where were we? There was a Hate City a year or two back, and people were doing hard out stuff on a really fast blue down ledge. You would have seen some photos of it. There's one of Van
Fishied it.
Yeah, Van Fishied it, that ledge. Yeah, so I was attempting to sole it and never got over the thing properly enough to hold on to it. But anyway, Nui got a picture of me soling it and promptly labelled it Velvet Hammer.
Yeah.
So thanks. The worlds don't really need to cross over, but they are anyway.
They can.
They can, yes.
I'll move on to the next one. I thought this was quite cool because this rail's got some significance to Joss and I in terms of our first visit to Auckland and skating the YMCA rail.
Yeah,
it's got significance to a lot of people in Auckland.
Yeah,
it's a pretty famous rail in the Auckland street scene, yes, which is why I ultimately wanted to do it. I mean, terrible, no run up at all.
no,
and I liked a decent run up to get onto my rails. I didn't want to have to jump hard. I preferred to travel out a bit. But yeah, and it took me a while to commit to getting on it, actually. Crashed off the bottom a few times, which considering there's a constant stream of cars coming past just beyond the bottom of that photo.
Yeah, it's a good rollout onto a busy street, eh?
Exactly. You've got zero run up and zero run out. So yeah, you've got to try not to think about either of those things and just focus on getting on the rail. But yeah, had fun on it once I finally started committing.
Do you remember getting told off, Joss, the first time we went there?
Yeah, I remember the lady.
Yeah.
Why? It's a nothing rail. It goes nowhere. Who cares?
It was more the way we were told off. There was this crazy Māori lady. She had this, I don't know. She was like Haru Paru. Have you read Haru Paru and the Bird Woman?
No.
She was like this crazy Māori. She was like almost like a Māori witch. She's turned around at us and she was like, "People your age, they're silly." And that was all she said to us. That was her way of saying, like, what you're doing is wrong. You need to leave.
It was hilarious.
I've pretty much had that attitude my entire skate career. Aren't you a bit old for this?
The wire was like it was quite a small rail as well, too. Like, I don't mean like small as in, like it was quite a small handrail.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's
really thin.
It's narrow.
Yeah.
I seem to recall the nickname for it was Pencil Dick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
which kind of made it feel even sketchier, I thought. But
exactly. Yeah. It's a very narrow rail to land on.
Yeah. Moves on to the next one. I thought this was cool because you are very good at top soling things.
I like top soles. Don't look too closely at my front foot here, would you? Please do me a favor.
You're on that front channel.
Yeah. It's a toe roll. Top soles. I like top soles. They're usually pretty solid. I'm scared of doing them on high rails, actually. For some reason, they just psych me out on rails. I'm never sure my foot's going to lock, but on ledges, I'm actually fine with it. And this was in fielding on the way to the new Plymouth Hate City thing, and I was on a roll that day. I was having a great skate in that park, so I just lined it up and laid it down, and it just worked perfectly.
Nice.
That's cool because normally it's the other way around. People are sketchy about top soles on curbs and easy on rails.
Yeah, well, they are, but my mind won't recognize that fact. just goes, oh, what if it slips out and you miss? And it just does a little
Good.
flick out. So yeah.
That's cool. And your color coordination's on point here too.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
I
Yeah,
know,
very
right?
good.
Thanks.
Very good. Next one is a top pawn. I never understood why this was one of your safe tricks.
That's
Neither
not
do
a
I
safe
anymore. It used to be one of my safety tricks. Yeah, I had it on lock for ages. Because pawn and soul were the first two things. Well, apart from front sides, because I was on Rick skates with a dodgy grind plate. Once I got proper aggressive skates, pawn and soul were my first two tricks, and the pawn variants always worked, including the topside ones. So yeah, I have no idea what possessed me to do that on this rail, but I was standing at the far end and I could feel it in my feet. And that's a weird thing to say, but you guys must know what I mean. You stand there and you can feel some things, you know how it's going to feel. And I could feel it. So yeah, just popped up off that little kicker that Danny made me, which made it possible. Made it possible for me to skate quite a lot of street actually. And then just laid it out along the rail. Switched it up to soul too at one point.
Oh, wicked.
Yeah, that's good.
With old little Ben in the background and Tom? Is
Ben
that Tom?
Ben and young Tom, yeah.
Yeah. I really like this photo.
Yeah, it's a cool photo.
Yeah, that was at one of the OG meets. Jamie Nicholson took that photo.
Oh, rad. It almost looks like you're doing a parallel grab with the way that both your hands are positioned.
Yeah, I should have done a double cross grab, but I didn't actually mean my right arm to be down there. It was supposed to be gracefully out behind me somewhere, but it just wouldn't go. It was too busy aiming in the direction of travel. It got stuck there.
It's kind of nice. It's better than it flapping around like out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, maybe, but yeah, the rest of it's pretty tidy, and it was high enough, and yeah. I
always feel sick when I see that spot now, because was it like 2 or 3 years ago? Didn't some guy like try and drop in on a skateboard or something?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
He died. Yeah.
He
never skated.
Really?
He flat bottomed to his head or something.
Yeah, he never skated anything else in the park. Apparently, he just rolled up and stood at the top and tried to drop in. Psyched himself up for an hour and.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah.
People at the park said they felt the ground shake. Maybe we shouldn't even talk about it. So
no, let's move on.
Oh. Well, when you think that the rollerbladers managed to get up there and grind along it, Johnny and Jamie at least were both up right along the top there.
Well, Johnny fish-brained it, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, I saw him trying it.
But didn't I see a picture? I saw a picture of Vic Park the other day, and haven't they got tabs or something along the top of it now?
Yeah, it's like barbed wire and fencing along the top.
I guess that's why. Shoot. But yeah, I was just having fun gapping off the side, except I nearly ran over the basketball players because I came down right in the middle of their game.
But you're popping off it nice and high.
Yeah, it was a good one for that. With that whole wall to get up to ride along and launch off, it was fun.
I see Gibby in the back left.
Just too.
Just loitering. There's another one that needs to come on the podcast at some stage.
True.
Now, I wanted to bring this up because you're doing a back mistrial, which is a way harder trick than doing a top mistrial.
Not to me, it isn't. It's far safer. Far safer. Yeah, I was super happy with this because I traveled around for weeks and months watching you guys skate this rail, watching everyone else skate this rail, thinking it's low enough and I should be able to get on this and I should have a go at it. And it took me ages to psych myself up to trying it. And yeah, it's I don't know whether this was the first session I did on it or the second, but once I got on it, it worked really, really well. And if I was still into street skating, I'd probably skate this one still.
I think it's still here.
The only drawback to me is that it's on the right hand side, so it's actually my weaker set of grinds. Couldn't royale it, couldn't soul it. I'd mistrial it, and I'd probably try and top acid it actually.
I remember always this was on the way to bush rail, so we'd bypass this most of the time to get to bush rail.
That bush rail was super awkward to grind though, or to get on. The run up to get on it was awkward.
The kink and then the length the link in the middle of it, how it kind of curved down.
Yeah, that one was it looked easy, but it actually wasn't, not at all.
Going backwards down that too was scary as shit.
I don't go backwards down Street Wales, so I don't know.
Then we're going to move into some of the photography that you've taken.
Found some, did you? Oh, yeah. There we go.
Yeah. I haven't seen that photo for ages.
I carefully did not choose any of these photos, just saying, because I know some people don't like how they look in photos. Well, I don't like how I look a lot of the time, so.
Yeah. I remember getting a link or I borrowed your hard drive, and I just went through it and found all my favorite photos of everyone, and I've printed out a bucket load. So quality's not that good because it's a photo of a photo, but I wanted to mention this one because all the stuff you used to look at magazines, top acid shots are always taken on the other side. And this one is taken very differently and really, really works, I reckon, and shows the essence of the trick.
Well, it's kind of like that last photo. Like, I reckon it's a taboo taking a photo of a mistrial from that angle.
Yeah.
You kind of have to take it from behind. And I always thought you always had to take a photo of a top acid from that angle, not from the other side.
Yeah.
I always thought it always looked weird looking at the inside of your skate. So
yeah.
Yeah, but style's spot on in that photo. I mean,
yeah,
top of your legs parallel with the rail. It's fantastic. So any which way, it was going to be a good photo.
Well, again, that's what you talked about earlier, though, taking the photo at the right time, because if you take it too early, you're not settled into it. If you take it too late, you're stepping off. You know,
and you're starting to stand up and move off it. Yeah.
That's a good length rail too for like getting set on a trick, I guess.
But I thought this was an awesome shot.
It's easier to get solidly centered on a rail than it is on a ledge, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely.
That was Christchurch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Christchurch. The trip we did down there. I can't even remember why we were down there, but...
Oh, it was a comp that Teagles and Carl put on.
Ah, okay.
Didn't Grant win it?
I don't even remember.
I think Grant won it. Because we went down with Grant, remember, Joss, and we were drinking on the plane at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
I just remember jumping a little kid's bike over a huge kicker.
Oh, there's at Rob Ting's house.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But this is an awesome shot of you, Joss. It's one of my favourites. And you always had top acids on lot.
Yeah, that was a fun rail too. I wonder if it's still there.
Was it New Brighton?
Yeah, it was at the pier, I think.
Yeah, you're right. It was right out of the beach. The rail was at an angle to the top, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You had to jump out a little bit more, I think.
Guess it depended on which side you went at it from, but yeah.
But it started higher than the top step, so it made it kind of a bit lower as well.
It's like, way easier to, you're right, it's quite a low jump.
Yep.
Moving to the next one. I always thought this was hilarious.
You found this one. So underneath that, believe it or not, is Scott Bentley, fast asleep, recovering from the previous night, whatever the hell he'd been up to.
And you can see from his shoes, he's face down too.
Yeah.
You can see a little bit of hat, Jim Beam hat.
I love it, eh? Bottle of water.
A slice of hat and a nose and pretty much not a hell of a lot else.
Oh my God, I hope he's watching.
I've got a lot of memories of Bentley asleep in the nicest possible way. In the most platonic possible way.
Yeah.
And do you remember who covered him up with the stuff? Because I wasn't there that day.
It would have been Danny. It
was a group effort. Somebody started. Yeah. Everybody did it, I think. But no, I don't remember who was there that day either, actually. So I wouldn't have a clue.
Oh,
keep it warm, mate.
What I can't remember is who stuck the stick between his legs, because that stick is actually sticking up. And I can't believe it didn't wake up.
So good.
That's awesome. Good. There's another shot that's adjacent to this one that shows just him in the foreground and the mini ramp in the background and everyone on the mini. It's so good.
That'd be about right.
Oh, so this one is a shameless self-promotion, but
good on you. Your signature fishy.
Well, I was going to bring it up because again, it's the same as that other one. Like fish brains were always taken in an angle from the front, never from the back.
Mm.
Because I remember reading a Daily Breed magazine, them calling it like the pawn shot. But actually, the way you've positioned this really, really works.
Mm.
It is
One of my
usually a
favourite
harder
shots.
one to take from the back. I mean, I don't normally take huge numbers of photos from the back because all you get is an ass shot and you can't really see what's going on necessarily. But when you're doing a fishy like this and your feet, one foot's clear of the other, you get a really clear shot of what's going on. So it worked pretty well. And it shows the damned awkward takeoff, which you don't even see if you're down the bottom.
Oh, that all those bricks
Yeah.
cobbled together.
Yeah.
I used to love that rail too until they took it out.
Yeah, you guys did. I had that rail on my list, but I never got to it before they got rid of it.
Yeah, such a shame.
It's a good photo. I like that photo.
Moving on, I included this because I don't know what we were laughing at, but it was one of those millions of Devonport missions we had.
Mm.
Oh, was that Devo?
Yeah, that was
Devo,
lying on the grass at Devo.
Yeah. More
Probably
shots of bladers not skating.
Well, we're probably laughing at Bentley asleep somewhere.
Probably, yeah.
Possible. It's a pity it's not a bit of a clearer shot of your faces because I'm pretty sure you're quite a bit younger then.
Yeah.
So young.
I had to include this one.
Nice. This is Joss practicing for the dual shot.
Yeah. Well, this came up in another episode with Hamish, but Ben Myers used to do front sides and back sides with his feet pretty much together. And I think you were channeling Ben Myers.
Were you doing that deliberately?
Yeah, you try to get your feet as close as possible together on a stand-up front side.
Okay, and just do it totally pin.
Yeah. I'll challenge anyone any day to that.
I reckon you've got that still, Josh. You can still do it.
Yeah, you could probably pull that out at the next OG meet.
Yeah. I think we had a name for it, but I don't know what it is.
I can't remember either. Oh, I've gone back too far. Sorry. I included this because, again, it's talking about photography and shots, but I thought this was the proper way to take a sweat stance photo. And that's a pretty dirty kink for Grant to be doing the sweaty through.
It's gnarly.
That was a hell of a one, and it ran straight out onto the pavement in front of a beach, so there was no run out whatsoever.
Huh.
Pretty sure if you actually pulled off the rail, you had to jump onto the sand afterwards, didn't you? There was no run out.
I've never seen it. I've never been there.
It was very full on. It literally there was a pavement down the bottom that went across the bottom, and then there was the beach, down a drop too. So the pavement was a meter up in the air, and the sand was a meter below that.
It's sick.
It was there was no run out at all, and the guys just got stuck into this one. It's actually a pity it's not slightly further around to the right, but yeah, it worked as a photo.
Very cool photo.
Demonstrates the rail.
And he was like a real big rail skater for a time, eh?
I got some really good shots of Grant because he was super into his rails and he was good at it.
Yeah. Yeah, he committed, so it was probably quite easy to shoot, eh?
Yeah.
I remember getting this part of the ones I printed, and I printed one of him doing a fishy and I thought it was a rad shot of him doing a fishy. And he saw it one day printed, and he goes, "Nah, man, I fucked up a sweat stance, so I decided to lift my foot up."
That's awesome. That's really nice.
The next one's another sweaty, but I thought this was a really interesting angle.
You can't see the front foot though.
You can just see the front foot going over that second part of the kink.
And it was the best way to show off the rail.
Yeah.
So you can tell what's going on with the rail, but the trouble is you can't, because he's chosen a front foot trick. You can't really see what's going on.
But what else is he going to be doing, right?
What, down a multiple kink rail?
Yeah.
Well, top mistrial actually. So yeah, you're right.
And this was Tauranga, wasn't it?
Yeah. This is somewhere near the mount or the road to the mount.
You guys
it's funny because if you put your thumb over like everything but the legs, most people will still know who that is skating.
Yeah. Yes. That's probably true.
Now you probably won't see any clear patch of skin though.
Or undies.
True. Next one's another sack photo.
Yeah. Same rail as before.
Yeah, same rail, but I've always really liked the shot because I don't know, it shows the awkwardness of the rail, but yeah, I don't know. One of my favourite alley-oop soles I've seen.
Yeah. Properly committed.
It's TJ Weber, eh?
Yeah. No, it's very cool shot.
Yeah. I like the shadows as well in that.
Yeah. Sun's coming over
Yeah.
from the other side. You're catching all the edges of the steps.
But you're not as high res as it could have been, obviously, because I'm taking a photo of the photo. But I don't know. It just shows off some of your photography skills here. And I think
that photo.
There's another one of my favourites. And sorry again for taking a photo of a photo, but you know, going back to your spiritual homeland of Abbott's Way, and a photo of
good old Abbott's Way
of Horgan, who introduced you to skating. You know, skating it at dusk is pretty cool.
I still remember taking that photo. Yeah, it was borderline too dark for it, and I knew there wasn't going to be any detail in the skater at all in Horgan, but just the sky behind him and the whole silhouette thing.
Yeah,
worked out so well.
Real cool.
Yeah, no, it's rad.
Sweet.
I think that's it. I'll stop sharing now and then we're back.
One of my favourite photos of all time, I should have found it to show you, was actually Isaac doing a true topsole on a really narrow white ledge on the side of a building with quite a steep stair drop. And
that's in Howick here. Yeah.
Yeah.
True mistrod as well.
Perfect style. It's one of my favourite all-time photos, but I doubt whether I could even find it fast if I tried, so I won't.
And it's like is it 8 or 10 foot drop down to a narrow path?
Big drop from that ledge to the flat below, yeah. And with steps and full commitment, and he went and true topsoled it, for God's sake. Unbelievable.
Huh.
Dude's always been amazing, eh? Oh, well, I think we've come after 2 hours and 10 minutes to the end of the first Blady podcast episode.
Your first international and your first Blady podcast.
Yeah.
I just realised that we didn't even really tell you that this was supposed to be a test tonight. We just did the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
But it worked out really well. So thanks, Heather. Super cool to catch up finally, for ages. And we keep saying that we should do another big OG meetup in New Zealand. And you kind of probably should be a part of it, but whether or not it actually happens, I don't know. But if it does, yeah, it'd be cool to see you again.
Oh, it so would. Yeah, it'd be great to have another gathering and sit around and talk rubbish and do a few soul grinds.
Yeah, have some pile-ups.
Yeah,
exactly. Have a few drinks, see who falls first.
I don't know.
It's been really awesome. So thank you for having me on here. I actually didn't think that I'd managed to talk for over 2 hours. So
nice.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. I really
we're,
don't.
We're professionals. So
you are professionals at making people talk. Yes.
Yeah.
We're very good at it. I also wanted to just touch on briefly here that you have done massive things for our scene in New Zealand, both with your commitment to skating and your photography skills, and you've really contributed to a scene in a healthy position, and wanted to say thank you to you for that.
Well, thank you. I mean, you don't think about it as you go along, you just get into something you absolutely love yourself and want to be part of, and do it for yourself and make friends along the way and become part of a scene and enjoy the group, and it just sort of evolves. And I've loved it. It's been a huge thing in my life, and it's been a fantastic way to let go of everything else that's going on around me. And that's one of the reasons I love skating so much, just the feeling of the wheels under your feet and the fact that you've stopped thinking about everything else, but also the people I've met along the way. And I'm still friends with so many people in the scene, and hope I will be for pretty much forever afterwards, even if we don't stay in very regular touch. So, and the scene's given me as much as I might have given it. I mean, I've got friendships out of it, and an amazing form of exercise out of it, and something that's given me stress release and happiness and joy and all that as well. So, and a lot of encouragement and support from some truly fantastic people along the way. So yeah, it's definitely gone both ways.
Cool. Well, before we all start tearing up, yeah.
Before it gets too mushy, let's call it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Heather, and we'll see you back in New Zealand soon.
Thank you. Definitely. I hope. We'll see you.
Good.
All right. Bye.
All right. See you later.
See ya.
The Velvet Hammer.
The Velvet Hammer is out.
Okay, guys. See you later.
See ya.
Bye.
Parents are very strict. Where you going with those skates? Wear your helmet. Are you doing that too? Are you jumping on those banisters?